Welcome to a new episode of Dreamer Talks. Today we are with Erin Quiros, our esteemed interior design partner.
Ciao Erin.
Ciao.
And it's important to mention that she's also the owner of this wonderful property on the hills of Florence. In fact, we are here to talk about the importance of the interior design in the luxury properties. How you interact with the client for a new project?
I think the first thing I always look for in a client is to take them back to one of their best memories of holidays. And when you're on holiday, what's so wonderful about it is that you feel like you're pampered, you feel like you're really in comfort. And I think it's really important to bring that back into your home because in the end, this is where we live. So I start always with trying to figure out where that place could be for them, even if it's an amalgamation of places. But this is where I start with them.
Of course.
And which are the elements that you love to put more importance to?
Like for example, let's say the layout, let's say the materials, the finishes, the furniture items, the color choices.
My main focus is something that usually is the last focus for most, the first focus, and that's light. And if the property has its own natural light, it's really important to use that light and bring it in. And if it doesn't, it's very important to create a lighting situation that's still, though, not artificial. Even though we are creating an artificial light, that it still allows the person to feel like they're in a cozy environment.
Yeah.
So light is where I always start.
How important for you is to maintain your visionary approach, and how in the meantime is important to conserve some like intrinsic characteristic?
The properties here, or anyway Tuscany, and the properties here always have some kind of intrinsic architectural elements that cannot be touched. That for me is always a starting point, but in a positive way. For example, this house that had this round window, this is the reason why I bought it. And not only that, this is what set the tone for the entire house. I wanted like a brutalist, revisited. Brutalism mixed with Mexico. So, I'm from Texas. On the border with Mexico, so I'm Texan-Mexican, and I've been living here for 25 years, so I consider myself multicultural. And the fact that I'm multicultural, I think, helps me to really not have boundaries in design. And so, yes, some pieces I do design, but in addition to that, I also have a huge research base, and this helps me a lot to put in all these elements from all over the world. It's just a matter of very small details, and you can actually bring that in, and like for example, just rounding the corners, or I added a fireplace outside that was inspired by Luis Barragan, which is a Mexican architect. Just small elements, and you can bring yourself into where you want to be.
You did a lot of projects even in Italy and in Florence and with some of our clients. Do you want to talk about all this house or some like case study that you find difficult to go through, but at the end you had a great final result?
I think every project is challenging, but I love challenges. I can name, for example, a project that I had done in the center of Florence, and it was an abandoned carpenter studio and an abandoned farmhouse, actually, right in the center of Florence near Piazza Pitti. And when I walked in there, I wasn't finding the light, but I knew it had potential. It was quite a challenge in bringing that light. And as I do like to dialogue a lot with the outside world that's around, that was quite a challenge. But in the end, we did an amazing job. Yeah, it's one of the best projects that we've done.
When a luxury property is for sale, how much do you think is important that the property can be completely renovated and furnished for the buyer side?
I think it's extremely important. It's very rare that a buyer can see themselves in a home that hasn't been renovated and hasn't been furnished and doesn't have, again, the light and the coziness and the warmth that a buyer wants to feel when they walk into a property. It's very rare. And so it's very important to undertake a renovation and furnishing of a place that, again, allows a buyer to come in and say, oh, I can see myself in this home. And when you are renovating the property, I think it's very important to always think of, what would the next person look for when they're buying it? So again, this is from my American side. And again, it just allows the buyer to imagine themselves in that home. And I think it's the best. And what most buyers are looking for is what I call the toothbrush house, where they walk inside and they can imagine themselves there, and all they have to do is bring their toothbrush. And it's finished.
And you know, Erin, how difficult it is to find this kind of property in Florence. So I think that for us, it's very important to have a partner like you, even for the buyer side, because of course, it's not easy to find something ready and completely furnished. So sometimes we need a partner and a professionist that can be next to the clients.
I agree with you, and thank you, but I agree with you. I also think that one of my strongest points is the fact that I am this kind of multicultural. So I am, on one side, I'm Italian. So I've been living here for 25 years. I've been doing this business here for 25 years. I know inside and out, and I speak the language of this business, which is really important. And then, of course, on the other side, I also understand what it means to be an expat, to come and live in Florence or in Italy, and maybe not understand how the system works. And I know how to relay that to the new person who is coming here, who has no experience with that.
Thank you very much for being with us, Erin.
Thank you. Thank you, Chiara. It's been a pleasure.
And thanks to you for following us in this conversation with her. And we see you in the next Dreamer Talk with a new topic and a new guest.